Hey everyone, Eric Coffee here, GovCon Giants with Natalie. How are you, Natalie?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what is that you do?
So my name is Natalie Rosario. I'm president of Family Capital LLC, and I'm currently in Miami. And now the niche that I'm focusing on is remediation, but I have done a couple other contracts and other things.
Nice, nice. And clearly that's why we have you here. We want to talk about some of those other contracts that you've won because people always like to hear about wins and success stories. And I know that some people don't like to say their age, but you look fairly young. So
Yeah, I'm 27. I'm about to be 28 on Friday.
all right, so 27. Nice, nice. And how did you get involved with government contracts?
Um, it's actually very funny. I was on Instagram and I have a friend who I've been following him for years. I've known him for years, and I never knew what he do. I always see him like traveling lavishly, doing, I mean, just living the best life. And I always wondered what he did. And one day he literally just talked about it on Instagram on his close friend, talking about what he does. And I said, I want to know more.
And what did he do?
He, your name.
Like, I don't care. I know not the name, but what did he do? What was his job? Like, what
Oh,
was his career?
construction.
Construction.
Yeah.
Okay. And does he do
That's
for
his
government
niche.
contracting?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
And he, when I asked him about it, he told me to look you up.
no way. So
Yes.
that's
So I
interesting.
was like,
I never knew that story.
yeah, true story.
So, so he said, "Look, I can't teach you, but go look this guy up over here."
Yeah, literally. And he's like, this is who I learned from. And he's very successful now. I mean, I should tell you about, or tell you about him. He pretty much followed everything I'm doing. He's very successful in the construction niche.
Well, it's interesting when you talk about traveling. I'm actually in Colombia right now as we're doing this interview. So I didn't say that to you, but it's interesting that you know my closest friends that are very successful, they don't talk about government contracting.
No, they don't.
It's interesting that you bring that up because when I meet their friend circles that don't know them, they just know them from like the going out and the other
Mhm.
activity stuff, and and they're like, Eric, man, I love what you do with government contract. I'm like, that's what he does too, right? They're like, who? I'm like, that's what he does. I go, how did you think he bought his yacht? I go, it's like, oh, I thought he was a real estate investor. I'm like, his money to invest in real estate came from contracts with the government,
Right.
but he
And
doesn't promote that, right? So he's not. None of my friends that do government contracting that are very well, they've never promote government contracting, which is a very ironic thing. So when you said that to me, it just triggered that in my brain. It was like, you see them, like you said, traveling and doing all these great things, not knowing where the money came from to do it.
no, not at all. And I mean, just as far as from, he posted it in his close friends, like in a
Right.
completely separate entity, not talking about it publicly. Like, no one would know that he was a government contractor.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, it's the same to my friends. People say one thinks somebody told me they think the other guy does real estate, one does stock trading, and then I don't know what the other thing this other guy does. I think they just think he's a rich person, inherited his money. So, I don't think they question it. But yeah, it's interesting. That's a really, first of all, I'm happy that I always love these success stories, right? Because
Right.
that is for me. That's what keeps me going. For me, because right, I never know who's listening to me. I never know who's taking information and applying it.
Mm.
And it seems like the people that I run into the most are more the naysayers and the negative ones. It's like, well, if you could make all this money, why would you be telling everybody? But like those
Yep.
are the kind of people that
Yep.
I run into. But and I know it's about you, but I just want to say this: as life will have it, as we were talking before this call, there's so many other things that happen to people in their lives with sicknesses and illness that you get to a certain point where you're like, how do I do more and help people more and have my life be more purposeful and meaningful? And that's what happened to me back then when I started doing this. Was like, it's like, yeah, I can go and make all this money and be isolated and alone in a silo and loaded, but I wouldn't feel like I'd have value and meaningfulness and substance that I would have like by doing things like this and meeting people like you.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I'm completely different. I tell everybody about government contracting. I literally am like, what are you doing? You need to look up government contracting. It's just an amazing resource, and I talk about it. I'm obsessed with it. I talk about it 24/7.
nice, nice. So tell us, so your friend told you about what he did finally in close
Yeah,
circles.
yeah,
He did it, and then now you're like, okay, I got to learn about this stuff. So you start looking it
literally.
up, which is, don't you find it interesting that I have a very small following on Instagram and those places, even though we successfully help people make a lot of? Don't you think that's interesting?
Yes. And I think it's crazy. It's a full circle moment how I binge watched um, videos, and I students that you brought on, and you bring them on later, and then they just, and it's just crazy that now I'm a student. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the contracts that you won.
So
You've won.
the
How many have you won? First of all, how many?
four,
Okay, nice.
four, and I got my wage code in April. Yeah, it's pretty good. First contract that I put in was the first contract I went in, and it was for formalin wave pickup. I don't even know what formalin is. I just knew that they needed it picked up on a needs basis, and so I submitted and I won. I didn't even, and it's so funny because when I look at my submission from then and my submission now, it's so funny how much I've grown because I literally just submitted a piece of paper, just one document, and I won. So that was my first one.
What does that? What does that tell you about the other people out here, or what does that tell you about yourself? Or I mean, does that give you any insight into? Because a lot of times people say this is so competitive, it's so hard. Like,
Mhm.
what does that? What does that
To
say? What is?
me, it changed the whole dynamics of my brain. Like, I mean, the fact that one, I took it as a sign from God. I'm like, okay, this is for me, clearly. And then the second thing was that um, I just couldn't believe how A turned into B.
Yep.
Literally,
Right.
it was just you said what to do. I had did it, and it happened, literally.
Isn't that what they? Isn't it? Isn't that the law of attraction?
Yeah. Yeah. And when I say binge watch, I mean binge watch. I was obsessed. And I realized that, okay, I just keep binge watching, I keep binge watching. I need to just submit a bid. I just need to just try to do it and just figure out how, where I'll go from there. And I submitted it. I want my first one. And then my second one was for a catering to provide meals for soldiers. Um, it was in Idaho, and I just looked up caterers in Idaho, and they were already familiar with the government process. They didn't. We were already registered at SAM as well. The caterers that I found, they were registered at SAM. They won awards before also, but when I reached out to them, they didn't want to do the government process, so they were like, "Yes, we'll be a subcontractor." Yep.
I, I have so much to say. But I want to keep. People tell Eric you talk too much. So I'm gonna let you keep talking.
No, it was.
I'm speechless because again, we assume that people who are already doing this in the space, like, oh, why would they want to work for me?
Yes, I
I'm no
do.
one. Is that what you assume, right? In your brain, right?
Yes,
Self doubts, your limiting beliefs here. You
Yes.
say, well, why would they work for me? I'm 26 years old, I'm 27 years old. I don't have any experience. I've never done this before. Why would this company who's successful work for me?
Yes. And it's even crazier because, mind you, I was kind of, everything was a learning experience for me. And I took it as that, like anything that didn't go the way that it was supposed to, I was like, okay, this is a learning experience. In my submission, I messed up. Like, I had to tell the government, I'm sorry, X out that last submission. Here's my new one. They messaged me back saying, you forgot something. I sent it back. They were like, you're still forgetting stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I won. So that's why I was like, that taught me that okay, the government are for better people.
Mm-hmm.
They are forgiving. That was, I mean, not forgiving, but I just want to say that understanding.
Lenient, understanding, and lenient.
Lenient,
More
yeah.
lenient than we give them credit for.
Yes. Also another learning challenge for me with that kid was I didn't have any funds to put the deposit that they needed when they first gave me their quote. So I had to put my big girl pants on and call them and pretty much let them know, like, hey, government contracts don't work that way. We have to pay you afterward. Is that something that you would be okay with? And at first, they gave me a really hard time. This is why I say this contract, the second one really taught me a lot. They gave me a hard time because they actually told me a story about how someone, just like me, didn't do them well in the business and didn't pay them. So it was a whole hurdle on itself that I had to go over. But I built trust within that conversation. And long story short, they were willing to work with me. And we successfully completed the contract. Out of that contract, I got a good evaluation on the CPARS
Mm. It's good, good.
report.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I didn't even know what that was until the government told me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a good review on that. And that caterer now is always willing to work with me, is constantly emailing me, do you have any bids in Idaho, anything. So that was my second one. My third one is for a 5-year contract. It's for landscaping here in Miami. And it's actually at the, I know, AA lab on the Rickenbacker
Mm-hmm.
Causeway down here in Miami. So it's a landscaping contract. I put in a contract. I actually had a friend who does landscaping, and we put a bid in and we won. And that's what happened. And then my last contract, which is the fourth one I just won, um, was a relocation contract. It was the government needed a woman to be moved from her home because they wanted to use her home for refuge services.
Mm-hmm.
So they just needed help finding someone to get her an apartment. That's it.
Now let me
Yeah,
ask you something. How do you decide? Because you went from Idaho to Miami to landscape to
I
refuge.
know.
I mean, how did you choose these very arbitrary types of non-related contracts and locations and fields?
So the more I just started doing this, so every day I'm learning something new. Every day is like so much to know. But to me, I feel one, I know that focusing on a niche is very important. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like my focus on these weeks and stuff like that, is trying to zone in on a niche. But I've found that looking for niches that aren't very popular, don't have many people bidding on the projects.
Okay.
So for me, those are opportunities or
Mm-hmm.
windows for me to take advantage of the space while I'm building my personal niche and the contacts that I'm building in that niche.
no. Hey, listen. You know, there is no one right answer, right? One of the things that I just made a content about this recently was, I had to start consulting in the beginning to get enough capital to have my own contracts,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so that was one way that I did it. I've had friends that did Unison Marketplace to build up capital, but obviously when we talk about niching down, it's because I want you to go to like the big level, right? Like your friend.
Yeah.
So yeah. I want so when I have my Christmas party this year in Colombia, you can come out in Medellin and come to our Christmas party. You
Oh, I'm
know,
coming.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. When
I'm
we throw our
coming.
Christmas, you guys like I'm coming. When we throw our Christmas party,
I have to.
like I mean, that's what we're gonna do with our people. But no, that's exciting stuff. It's great. Now, how do you feel from when you started to today? Right, it's April to we're in October now.
We're in
We're in
October.
October.
So
So
I will say
I
that
will
I
say
feel a
that
lot
I
more
feel a lot more
confident when I
confident when I
started,
started,
but I
but
do
I
say
do
that
say
I'm
that
a lot more
I'm a lot more
careful.
careful.
I'm a lot
I'm
more,
more
um,
um,
like I really
like I
try to
really try
stay.
to stay.
I don't
I
put
don't
too many
put
things
too
on
many
my
things
plate
on
at
my
once,
plate
and
at
I know
once,
that
and I
was
know
one
that was
thing that
one
I was
thing
trying
that I
to
was
do at
trying to
first.
do
I
at
just
first. I
wanted to
just
do it.
wanted to
I just
do it.
wanted to
I just wanted
start.
to
I just
start. I
wanted,
just wanted,
and that's a
and that's
problem
a
that I have.
problem
I'm
that I
very
have. I'm
impulsive
very impulsive
sometimes.
sometimes.
I just want to
I just
go.
want
I
to
keep
go.
going
I
and
keep
just
going and
get
just
there,
get there,
and
and
obviously life is
obviously
not
life
that
is
way.
not that way.
So
So
I've had to
I've
teach
had to teach
myself from
myself
then
from
to
then
now
to
is
now
just to
is just to
focus on the
focus on the
contract that I'm
contract that I'm
focusing on
focusing
and make
on
sure
and
that
make
it's
sure
done
that it's done
100%. It's
100%.
going to be
It's
done
going to be done
100%,
100%,
and then
and then
go from
go
there.
from
Just I
there. Just
guess
I guess
what I took
what I took
from the
from
time
the
is just
time
how
is
to
just
be
how to be
more
more
intentional
intentional
as opposed
as
to like
opposed
from
to like
before. I
from
just kind
before. I
of
just
just
kind
get
of just
in,
get
run
in,
in, and
run
be in the
in, and be in the
space
space
without knowing
without knowing
what
what
needed to be
needed to
known.
be known. So you know that when people see this, they're gonna want to meet you, Natalie. So um, you're gonna be in Miami at the conference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
okay. For
sure.
sure.
On the yacht.
On the yacht. On the yacht. All right. And the VIP, everything. You're doing everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. No. So I think that we'll make sure that this gets out so people get to know who you are, get to learn about you, and then that way they can ask you questions when they meet you in Miami about your experiences and what it's like. And what is your actual background, if you don't mind asking?
I
Like your
am
family's
Dominican
origin. Your what?
and Puerto
In
Rican.
Puerto Rico. Okay, okay, all right. There you go.
Yes, best of
Yes,
both
best of
worlds. You
both
cannot
worlds. No,
lose.
that's a great combination. That's a great combination. Hey, that's an off-subject topic, but that's a great combination. But
It
no, I
is.
think it's people any time, and I just I was telling my doctor this morning. You know I always say that we're like the undiscovered group of people, right? I don't even like to use the word minority anymore. We're just undiscovered because
Right.
we have gifts and talents and skills, um, and I don't want us to think that we're disadvantaged in some capacity. We're not. And what you've demonstrated and shown us is that one, you could do this without money. That's what you showed.
Oh
You
yeah,
could
you
do it without
can.
without experience, right?
Yeah.
And you could do it without really fully knowing the whole scope of like the
Yes.
like not actually knowing how to do the work or the job. And those are three things that I talk about constantly in my right. Would you not agree? Isn't that what I talk about? I think a lot, and
Yes.
so that's the for me the biggest message I want people to take from this is she did this. She didn't use her age as an excuse. She didn't use her lack of capital as an excuse. She didn't use her lack of knowing being an expert in the subject as an excuse, right? And she didn't use not knowing government contracts as an excuse, because if I'm not hearing you correctly, aren't you not the prime in all these contracts?
I am.
I am. Let's go, baby.
I am the
I am the
prime.
prime. So you don't have to have government past performance to win government contracts. That's what you're telling me.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Okay. And now you have CPARs.
And now I have
And now
C
I have
pars.
CPARs. Man, I wish I had one of them sound trays. I could put this thing ding 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 ding.
Yeah, this is
I
the
would blow
time
this
for
thing
it.
up right now. Listen.
Yeah, I'm really
Yeah, I'm really
excited about this
excited about
journey.
this
I'm
journey. I'm
so
so
um, invested, because there's just so much opportunity in contracting, government contracting, federal, state, local. There's just so much opportunity. So I feel like I've learned skill sets that can take me so far. So I'm excited.
I love it. No, this is great. So before we close out, tell the people again. Tell them one where to find you at. I know you're a big IG, person. So whatever information you want to share publicly, if you don't want to share anything publicly, just tell them meet you in Miami. I don't care. Whatever you want.
Um, my Instagram is Natalie Rosario, and you can find me at the conference in Miami.
And probably
Yeah.
at the Christmas
Um,
party,
yeah.
but Christmas party is
Oh,
gonna be
and
invite
Christmas
only.
party. Sure.
The Christmas party is gonna invite only for people that are in our inner
Yeah.
circle. So that ain't gonna be
If
public
you're
Christmas party.
in the circle, then you'll see me at the Christmas
There you go. All right,
party.
Natalie, thank you so much. And let's close out and just give people, leave them with something of substance that that you believe can help the people come up behind you that are still having limiting beliefs, that don't have necessarily, that they don't feel confident that they can do this. Leave them with something that you know that they
um,
could take away from this.
man, you just gotta have some perseverance. And just stay consistent. The minute you stop, you got like
Right.
there's just you just gotta just it's not even like you have to know all this information. You just have to be willing and consistent. And I think that you will undoubtedly get results.
Love it. Love it. Natalie, thank you so much. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.